choosing to homeschool your kid. This is more of a controversial subject than I ever realized. And I pretty much try to stay out of all of the drama of any of it. That there's such a stereotype associated with homeschooling. So I just wanted to share a few things because I don't fit any of the stereotypes. I have my oldest child who thrived in public school. She loved it. Loved all the social aspects, the sports, the style of learning, everything. She would have hated being homeschooled. Our youngest started in public school and begged to be homeschooled. He is more of this analytical mind. He's self-motivated. He is so didn't want any of the drama. He just really wanted to learn, and without a lot of the stuff that can go with public school. And so we did not choose to homeschool because of religious reasons. We did not choose to homeschool because we are anti-public school. We did not choose to homeschool because of any big movement of any sort other than we had a need and we decided to meet it. In fact, we didn't tell any of our family for the first 6 months. It was wintertime and my son begged to be homeschooled, so we never sent him back over Christmas. We had to figure out on the fly what that looked like. Luckily, when they're in pre-K and kindergarten, it's really easy. And so I was able to step into that role and just savor that time with him. And we didn't know at that point if it was going to be for a year or two. We've always given him the option that if he ever wanted to go back to public school, he could. So for us, what that's looked like, and I just want to share a couple of things. This isn't really about homeschooling, but so often when people are debating life's schedules and choices, schooling is a really big factor to all of that. In fact, it wasn't until our daughter was in college and suddenly we weren't tied to a school schedule that we realized, wait, we could go travel in March, April, May, and go get better deals, hit the shoulder seasons, things are less busy. We can do big trips in September. This whole other world opened up. We knew that if we were going to homeschool our child, we live in a more rural, predominantly white farm town. And we really wanted to show him other cultures, other styles of living, people that do not look like us, and have him be fully aware and confident in understanding other people. And we lived more closer to Minneapolis when my daughter was in elementary school and middle school, so she got to experience more diversity. My son wouldn't here unless we actively pursued it, and that was important to us. And so that was another reason. Or at least it was if we're going to do this, this is going to be part of our plan sort of reason. There's nothing like being the only white people on the train in Dubai or the only English-speaking ones in a small town in Turkey as we're trying to communicate. Like, those were beautiful life experiences. And we got to see this wonderful full array of different styles of humanity and took home this love of, we weave together this beautiful tapestry of lifestyles and people and cultures. And so that's been part of our experience. Now that comes into play because as we are getting ready to sell everything and move abroad, my son is actually really excited for this. He has identified more with some of the Japanese cultures. He's always had this interest in that. I think he likes the timeliness and the things expected. He loved the advanced way that they, it's like they're living like 20, 30 years ahead of us. When we went over there, this affirmed this. Things are just so much more evolved, and that really spoke to him. And so it's been fun to get to explore and go to things like the World Expo where we can see the innovation from countries all over the world and learn and expand beyond what he would have learned in the classroom. Nothing against what he would have learned in the classroom, but we get to tailor it for him specifically. And for other kids, that may look very different. They may have wanted to do more sports themed things. Maybe it's seeing baseball parks around or understanding how different things work, marine life or whatnot. My kiddo happens to be interested in technology and this innovative thing in languages and understanding Greek mythology and just different things. So we get to tailor that to him, is my entire point about this. You get to look at your kiddo and figure out what things they are naturally good at, and then also which things do I need to fill in to make sure that they get. The social aspect. People have very strong feelings about this, which is completely understandable. I actually look back at my experience and I think I was over-socialized. I grew up with a family of 5 kids. There was always a million things happening. I was in sports all year long, playing traveling sports and active, and I craved alone time and time to simply draw and be. And my son is a lot more, I think, how I naturally was. I just didn't know that I was someone who needed more alone time. And so he is very vocal about when he's feeling like he needs more social time. And so we've been very intentional about that as he's grown. He has different groups of online friends and groups that he's a part of. He has in-person activities that we have very deliberately gotten him involved in. And that'll be something we have to consider as we travel to different places, trying to find expat groups or local groups where he can immerse himself and get to know other people. So that's just something that has to be considered, and we have had to put a lot of thought and time into that. And I think that's also come from having 2 kids that are 10 years apart. We essentially raised 2 only children. And so some of the things that I think he's dealt with are not from homeschooling. It's from almost being like an only child where things do revolve around them. And there's good parts of that, and it makes life easier for everybody. But there's also times where you have to stop and say, we know that this would be easier for you, but you need to understand a different way of looking at things, or compromise, or how to work with others. Some different experiences that we really have to be deliberate in figuring out how to address. And some of that's a homeschool thing, but some of that is just simply he's, for the last 8 years, hasn't had a sibling living here with him. So it's learning as we go on those things and just being aware of them. But there's an incredible freedom that can come if schooling isn't a barrier. If every other part aligns, but you're thinking, well, I have to wait till my kid's out of school, or we have toddlers. We really want to go move somewhere else, but we can't because they're about to start. I just wanted to make this video to make you aware that there are people traveling all over. There's people from Australia living in Thailand or Vietnam or France or Scotland, and vice versa. There's Americans living in every corner of the world, raising toddlers, homeschooling. There's Worldschooling hubs and groups that meet up. There's ones that are more nature focused. There's ones that are more, I'm guessing, more mathematical focused. There's immersion schools, international schools. There's all sorts of things and options that you can look at if that's a desire that you want to go or that your kid is open to doing. So I just never want that to be a barrier for a family that thinks that there isn't an option. I know it mostly comes down to that child and what they will thrive in the most. Like I said, my daughter, I think she would have had a really hard time with homeschooling, but she's also very similar to me in that it might have been really calming for her. There might have been a lot less drama, a lot less friend fights, things that some teenage girls have to go through. So I hope that can offer some encouragement to you if this is a choice that you're facing or you're just simply exploring. I don't have all the answers, but I want to assure you that they are out there. And I can just serve as someone who invites you to look at homeschooling in a different way than maybe you typically have. There are some freaking weird homeschool groups in my area I avoid at all costs. I am not about restriction and control and some of that stuff. Like, that's not any part of why I want to. I look at it as an expansive experience and one that can be tailored to the needs of the child. And if you have the bandwidth to be able to meet that, there are online options, there are physical books and worksheet options, and depending on the age of your child, we've used different ones at different times. They're all out there. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to point you in the right direction. But I simply just wanted to introduce that idea and take away that as a barrier. If you're really wanting to make this lifestyle change, but you're scared of what that could look like, just know that you're not alone. And there are so many people successfully making it happen, and their kids are thriving. In fact, some of them, their kids ultimately end up going to college, great colleges, and that travel experience is looked at very fondly by many schools. So don't worry that you're somehow setting your child up for failure or you're making them abandon everything good in their life. There are many possibilities. So thank you so much for watching. I'm happy you're here. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below and help each other out by answering each other's questions. Have a great day. Bye.